difusores hay todavía bastante interés en escuchar lo que tenemos que decir los que tenemos un perfil un poquito más, o tienen un perfil un poquito más técnico. Excuse me, I will go with introduction in Spanish. You have a direct translation into English, okay? So whatever is told in Spanish. En primer lugar, me gustaría presentar a los miembros de la mesa. Tenemos, por orden, para intervenir Regis Saint-Giron, que es el Senior Vice President en Sales Marketing Europe en Open TV y miembro activo del HT Forum en Francia, que hará una introducción sobre cuál es el estado de HbbTV en el mercado francés y cuál es su visión al respecto de la evolución de HbbTV en ese entorno. Klaus Merkel, de IRT, aquí conmigo, también nos hará una introducción al mercado alemán. Nos van a explicar básicamente cuál es su misión, por qué han seleccionado HbbTV y cuál es el estatus y la evolución que ellos prevén para ese mercado. A continuación, y desde una perspectiva más horizontal en el mercado europeo, tenemos a DigiTAG. Tenemos la suerte de que un viejo conocido de nuestro sector como Alex Mestre es el vicepresidente de la asociación, y Alex nos va a contar cuál es la postura de DigiTAG y cuál es su visión en términos de la evolución de Hbb y HbbTV para nuestro mercado. Y en último lugar, pero no menos importante, intervendrá John Paisin, que aparte de ser consultor técnico de Philips, es un miembro destacado del HbbTV Forum, también a nivel horizontal, a nivel europeo, y que nos hará una introducción sobre cuál es la situación actual de HbbTV, cómo se está ya utilizando HbbTV en diferentes mercados, cuál es su visión, qué expectativas de futuro tiene para las siguientes ventajas que el estándar nos va a ofrecer y cómo el mercado español puede aportar a esta evolución también. Y a partir de ahora pasaré al inglés y haré de moderador, es decir, dejaré de hablar. So we start with you, Regis.
Okay. So I'm afraid I'm going to do it in French or in English, so maybe let's go for English. Thank you again for inviting us today. As I think it was said, I'm working for Open TV. Open TV has been in the field of interactivity since 1995, and therefore we are very keen about everything about interactive TV. We have deployed 160 million interactive devices since then, and today we are part of the Kudelski group, which is also owning Nagravision, because interactivity and security are very much fitting together in many markets. So that being said, I'm also on the board of HbbTV, on the board of the HD Forum, which is the French organization in charge of managing the terrestrial TV in France, and the FDZ, which is the French organization in charge of interactive TV services and the industry of interactivity. So in France, the situation in France and Spain are very similar. There is a strong pay TV business. Maybe in France there is a specificity of the ADSL, which is even stronger than in many other countries. But there is a legacy and strong pay TV business, which somehow is kind of reaching some plateau. And there is a very, very strong terrestrial business since it was launched in 2005. In fact, France is going to switch off the analog terrestrial this year, so it's a big step for them. And what has been very successful is the launch of HDTV, and that's why when it was decided to launch HDTV, the HD Forum has been organized to manage this launch in a very controlled way and very regulated way. For example, in France, you could not have TV sets that are not HD ready anymore. All the TV sets must be HD today because of the need to switch to HD one day. So the HD Forum has been tasked for HD initially, and all these successful terrestrial launch, which in French we call TNT. TNT stands for Télévision Numérique Terrestre, so Digital TV Terrestrial, DTT. So TNT has been the brand used for the user to buy TV sets which are ready for the digital terrestrial. But so far, even if it was very successful, it was not interactive. When it was launched, there was no real time to look at interactivity it was not thought to be a critical and a priority. But now it is, for many different reasons. The first one is that the internet is very strong in France, as I say, and therefore there is this capacity to get online on the broadband, fast internet, almost in every home. On one side. On the other side, the manufacturer have launched now connected TVs in volume, which is great because you could have these advanced services on the internet in your TV. But the problem is that this was done so far through the manufacturers, and therefore there was different solutions from different manufacturers, creating a kind of heterogeneous market, which created a lot of complexity for the user, where services were not running on all TV sets, and it was very complex. So it was decided that we need to have a standard for managing this new world of connected TVs. And France started a few years ago working on a solution, and at the same time the Germans were working on it, and together they developed with others what is now HbbTV. And this is obviously the basis of the solution for the French market. So the HD Forum, again, has been tasked to drive this effort toward defining the solution. And even if it was, I mean, the goal of the HD Forum is obviously to make it very standard, and therefore to stick to the HbbTV standard as much as possible. And therefore there is a lot of interaction between the HD Forum and the HbbTV consortium to make sure that this is happening. The goal now is to launch this new generation of interactive TV set in 2012. It's going to be launched through some branding, so we're going to use most likely the TNT 2.0 brand, so that the user knows there is something new between the existing digital TV sets and the new TV sets. It's fully HbbTV based, but in the process of defining the services, the HD Forum found some issues, some missing features, and discussed with the HbbTV about what was necessary for them. There was very few of them. There was basically the need for quality of services, not getting too technical, but obviously one of the key features of connected TV is to be able to provide broadcast and broadband video, so online, on-demand video. And for that, if you go to the internet network, you want to have good quality. And to have good quality, there is a mechanism called adaptive streaming, which is that you could change the speed of your on-demand content to adapt to the internet quality. So there was a need for an adaptive streaming solution. There was a need for a common file format, a command format to come from the broadband. There was a need to have some interface with DRM solution. DRM solution is outside of the scope of HbbTV, but there was a need to interface them, and that was also a request to HbbTV. And there was one specificity in France, which was the CSA, which is our ministry in charge of terrestrial in France, asked the HD Forum to define a guide, an EPG, a guide solution for TNT2. And the solution was decided to be based on a broadcast-based guide. So the broadcasters wanted to have a guide that they could all use and serve all their content in a very neutral way. So there was a need for a guide also to be developed under HbbTV. So all of that has been discussed at length within the HD Forum, with all members of the HD Forum, within HbbTV as well. And we are working now on a small revision of HbbTV called HbbTV 1.5, which I guess John will explain in more detail, to address those three missing issues, which are, again, well under control and moving fast forward. You may have heard also of some debate in France about something called La Charte, which is a code of good conduct between the broadcaster and the manufacturers. The thing with connected TV is that it changed a lot the way broadcast TV works, because somehow now you have, on one side, the broadcast world and you have the internet world, and they mix together on the same TV set, and they are following different philosophy, different process. So the broadcasters in France are very regulated. To get the right to broadcast, you need to go through a process, and you need to accept a lot of regulation. And therefore, while they welcome connected TV, they want to make sure that these new connected TV services will not change the rules under which they have been set up to run in the French market. So there is, therefore, to guarantee that, they have proposed to the manufacturer this code of good conduct to make sure that whatever services is going to come on the HbbTV connected TV set, on the TNT 2.0, will follow rules that are compatible with their obligation today in the market. As an example, one of the key requests from the broadcasters is to guarantee the content integrity, so to guarantee that whatever they display on the TV set is not going to be polluted by stuff they don't control, because, for example, in the worst case, broadcasters which run obviously on advertising and again are strongly regulated on what advertising they could play, how often and how much, could be somehow now polluted by some advertising coming on the banner on top of their content. And that's something which they have hard time to work with, because it's going in different direction. Same with their obligation with the kids control. They have a lot of obligation there. In France, we have this French cultural concept, so therefore they have to pay, the broadcasters have to pay a lot of money for the creative people in France to produce programs. And again, that's broadcaster obligation. The internet has no such obligation. So there is a thing today to be addressed, which is still under work in France, about while we define a standard with HbbTV, we still need to decide how to use it. And that's maybe a specific of the French market, and that's what this chart is about. So in summary, we are progressing well for hopefully a 2012 launch of this TNT 2.0. It is 100% based on HbbTV. We want to stick to HbbTV for the reason that at the end, the manufacturers, the TV manufacturers are going to be the driving force on one side to promote this solution, and the manufacturers want to have a global solution, a pan-European solution. Therefore, all the effort which is done today in Spain is also very important for the French market, because the more we align with HbbTV, the bigger is the market, and therefore the more successful it's going to be.
Thank you, Regis. We had a very good vision of the French market. Let's see what can we get from the German one.
Yeah, thank you. Hello to all of you. So many things in the German market have been developed in a very similar way to the French market. Regis said he was starting the business of interactive television in 1995. So the same being true for Germany. And since 1995, many players in the German market, and there are many players, of course. There are the cable operators, operators of terrestrial networks. There are the retail device manufacturers, the broadcasters, of course, free TV, pay TV, commercial, public broadcasters. And almost all of these players have been somehow dreaming or acting even on interactive television. Some of them developing plans for introducing interactive television as a part of their own vertically integrated platform. But on the other hand, there have also been quite a number of initiatives of introducing a market for interactive television on the basis of an open and standardized infrastructure. Up to now, all of these attempts had failed. So till 1-2 years ago, all of these approaches, the last of them having been MHP, to do this on MHP basis has failed. But now, as internet is so present everywhere, we think it's clear to all market participants that internet on the television screen will really happen, that internet will be the main driver to realize what people had planned to realize in the domain of interactive television for some 15 years now. So internet will definitely bring interactive television, and the main question I think we have is not will it bring or when, but really how will it be done. And as Regis already explained, a number of manufacturers have entered that market, have brought devices to the market who, in one way or the other, allow to bring internet content on the TV screens. Almost all of these solutions have been proprietary in a way that the used browser profiles were specific to the manufacturer, and all the access mechanisms as well. So the standard case was that you had to adopt your services for all of these devices, and you had to talk to all the manufacturers in order to get your services on these devices, to talk to them at least, in the standard case even to make contracts, maybe even to pay money for that. So definitely a market situation which is not very suitable for a really open and interoperable market and for a very broad market development. So this was the main trigger to go into the standardization of such a hybrid system, and HbbTV addresses the two main issues specifically the service provider had with the early market development of hybrid television. The one big issue is really to have a common standardized browser profile, a technical profile, which would allow you to do all your applications and services only once and to have them running on all the devices. And the other issue which was really missing on the first hybrid devices was options to really combine the broadcast and the broadband services in a qualified manner. So quite a number of devices had, say, stupid TV sets, which allowed to watch TV and zap via P+, P-, and then had, apart from that, something like a portal or an internet TV key which you could press, and then you were separated from the broadcast world and in an only internet-based domain, but you couldn't really make any benefit of really, in an intelligent and smart way, combining broadcast and broadband content into one, say, content domain. So these are the two main points and the main benefits of HbbTV. So far concerning the background and the motivation of going to such a standardization of a hybrid system in Germany. If we look at the market situation today, HbbTV is already very well advanced, so by far more advanced than all the earlier initiatives since 1995 had ever been. We have all the big four broadcasting broadcaster families with applications on air supporting HbbTV as regular services. So we have 4 big groups in Germany having more than 92, I guess, % of the end customer market share, which is the public broadcasters ARD and then ZDF, and then the both big commercial operators, RTL Group and the Pro7 Sat.1 Media, and all of them are supporting HbbTV. So all of them see HbbTV as the solution for hybrid television. All of those 4 groups have clearly committed themselves to supporting HbbTV, and they have started regular operation at IFA, some earlier, but the latest at IFA last year, so in August 2010, all of them started to have services on a regular basis. Here I have a flyer which has been designed for the end customers to communicate HbbTV to the end customers. I have some of them, and you can take them if you're interested. So this shows you the number of services. You can't see in detail, of course, but this is only less than 50% definitely of the applications being in the German market now available on a regular operation. Altogether, we have some 40 applications now just designed by broadcasters. There are many more applications on the portals of the device manufacturers, but these are only the applications that are part of those 40 applications provided by the broadcasters. Here on this side, you see just a selection of the applications done by ARD and ZDF, so by the public broadcasters, and then here you see applications done by commercial operators. And if you have a closer look at that, you can really see that HbbTV is clearly a completely open system, also not predefining any specific business models, models, and putting any specific preconditions on the services, so not any specific commercial preconditions specifically, and also no technical conditions. If we look at these services, we can already see a variety of business model. One business model definitely is the standard business model of the commercial free TV operators, which is advertising. So they still do, like the ProSieben Group, they do advertising also in their applications. They have, for example, something like a teletext application, and they clearly have their advertising messages. They have some video on demand, some free VOD content, some catch-up TV services, and also there's a business model of the advertising business model by inserting pre-roll ads to all these videos. But we have also other business models like commercial VOD services. So Maxdome is in Germany the most popular up to now, mainly on PCs. So the internet VOD operator, Maxdome, and they now also have an HbbTV application. So it's commercial VOD, but it's also the business model of shopping. So we have some operators already in the market who do teleshopping using HbbTV. We have examples also here in this flyer. So there's already quite a variety of business models which can be used. So finally, there can be as many different business models as really different operators with different approaches are in the market, very similar to what has happened in the internet, of course. So the content market is quite well advanced in Germany, I would say. And the same is true also for the CE device market. So we have here on the flyer a list of logos of manufacturers who have already brought devices to the market or will do so this year. So market means German retail market. So among them we have Sharp, Samsung, Philips, Sony, Toshiba, LG, all with their devices. There are today some 15 different devices in the market, and quite, I guess, another 15 will follow till end of this year. And it seems that it will be, HbbTV will be really a standard feature for at least for the IDTV sets equipped for internet usage at all. So we had some communications by manufacturers saying, we don't have to advertise for HbbTV. We don't have to advertise for it because it will be a standard feature of our IDTVs, just like teletext is today. It will be automatically in all internet-capable IDTV devices, for example. So also from the manufacturer side, the offering is in a very good condition, I would say, for today. And maybe the last issue I would like to address is the question of the different networks where HBB is deployed. So the pioneering market, at least in Germany, has been the satellite. Satellite is a typical pioneering market in Germany. The market share is rather huge. It's some 40% satellite. And traditionally, all free TV has been unscrambled. So there's really a good developed retail market, and many new things appear first on the satellite. Same being true for HbbTV. So this is where the most of the devices are now in the market for the satellite market. Terrestrial is not such a big market in Germany. We have, not in all regions, but first regions have started to signal the HbbTV applications, although also in the terrestrial domain. There are, of course, less services than on satellite, and it's a much smaller market. Anyhow, most of the IDTVs, or I would guess even all of the IDTVs coming to the market today have DVB-T tuners. So definitely HbbTV runs also today on terrestrial networks and is used there as well. For the cable, the situation is a little bit more complicated. Cable operators traditionally like to have a more closed infrastructure where they can really control everything, of course, so control which services are fed to the cable network and how these services are then sold to the end customers. But most cable operators have realized that the internet will definitely mean they cannot maintain the full control over all services, and they will have to open up a little bit more. Cable operators in Germany have already begun to bring CI Plus modules to the market, allowing people to see the cable services also without a specific cable set-top box by inserting the CI Plus module to the CI Plus interface of their IDTVs. So the market has already opened up there. We have HbbTV signaling, so the linking from all the broadcaster services to the HbbTV applications. We have this linking also in the cable networks. So if the cable customer buys now some of these IDTVs, all of them, I would guess, have a DVB-C tuner, so then he can take the CI Plus module, insert it into the device, and have, of course, the broadcast services running via CI Plus then, and also the hybrid services via HbbTV, which is integrated into these devices. So HbbTV is also reality in the cable market today. And even one step more, first cable operators are trying to implement HbbTV within their own within their own set-top boxes. So also cable operators realize that if there are many devices out which are not under their control, they have to do something in this direction in order to be able to have their own services also on these devices. So if the cable operator wants to offer VOD service and the end customer has an IDTV with CI Plus module, so the only chance for him to offer his VOD service is to use HbbTV. So, and they are beginning to think about having their own HbbTV services and of integrating HbbTV into their own set-top boxes. And the same is true also for IPTV operators. So IPTV, at least in Germany, is fully based on DVB-compatible streams transmitted via IP multicast. So basically, IPTV is DVB compatible, and being DVB compatible means you can immediately adopt HbbTV, which has the result that really, I think 2 IPTV operators in Germany are currently working on projects to integrate HbbTV into their own set-top boxes in order to be able to get all these services which have been developed also on their platforms. Because these services are there, and today in IPTV platforms, on the proprietary IPTV set-top boxes of the operators, they can't be used. So it's definitely a matter for all 4 DVB-compatible distribution paths in Germany.
Thank you very much, Klaus. I think that we will all agree that there is a very high degree of consensus in the Spanish market about HbbTV. 2 years ago, we didn't have the situation, and we needed to leave this document that was promoted by the Spanish Ministry of Industry pending of revision, I would say. Okay, but it's probably it's the moment. But I would like to say that today we have France, we have Germany, but we have news almost every week or every 2 weeks of every other country making decisions towards the adoption of HbbTV. The last one was Austria with ORT basically stopping their services on MHP and adopting HbbTV for their trials that are just started. We knew last month that even in the UK market, that is usually a very close one, in FreeSat, they are starting adopting HbbTV as well for the development of their EPG. And that in the new debook promoted by the DTG, HbbTV is a key issue, is a key point that is basically key on or basic on the definition of how they are going to use the return path and in general HBB services. So it was not possible actually to invite every single country in Europe here to talk about their experiences. We have the 2 key ones that took the lead on HbbTV, and we are really grateful about it. But we cannot forget the importance of manufacturers here. We cannot forget that manufacturers are not making their decisions based on a local market. They are making their decisions based on economies of scale, global adoption of common rules. And I would like to ask the other two panelists that are basically talking about HbbTV from a horizontal perspective at the European level. What can we do? What can we do? Because at the present moment in Spain, we are harmonizing what broadcasters are doing, what their needs are, but we need to go to an upper level, to a higher level, and talk to the manufacturers and get their feedback, their inputs on that. So I will start first with Alex, from the point of view of DigiTAG. How is the process and how we can progress with that from the Spanish point of view?
Lo haré en español, ¿vale?
Vale.
Oye, en primer lugar, agradeceros la invitación que nos habéis hecho a DigiTAG. En segundo, felicitaros por el orden de las ponencias, ¿no? Porque hemos empezado desde el futurismo. Por cierto, ya sé que quiero ser cuando sea mayor. Futurist. I want to be a futurist. Entonces, no sabía que existía esto, pero y hemos ido bajando y vamos escalando hacia la realidad a medida que vamos avanzando la jornada, con lo cual me parece muy bien organizado. Entonces, además de trabajar para Ibertis Telecom, que es una empresa que conocéis pues seguramente la mayoría, estoy en DigiTAG. DigiTAG es una organización internacional que nació cuando nació la televisión digital terrestre, ya hace bastantes años, y básicamente era una organización que impulsa el despliegue de la televisión digital terrestre en los países donde empezaba pues hace 12 años, ¿no? Es una organización que en algunos momentos se ha planteado si debe de seguir existiendo o no, y cada vez que nos hacemos la pregunta, pues decidimos que sí, que merece la pena continuar. Entre otras muchas razones, ¿por qué? Pues porque hay países, digamos, que están justo empezando la transición y otros países donde ya hemos hecho pues el apagado, el cese de emisiones analógicas, que vemos que la televisión digital terrestre requiere de nuevos elementos para que la sigan haciendo competitiva en frente a otras plataformas, ¿no? Con lo cual, por las distintas razones de los distintos miembros que forman DigiTAG, pues vamos siguiendo continuar, digamos, decidiendo continuar, añadiendo, digamos, a medida que van pasando los steering boards, pues elementos de discusión y de contribución a lo que creemos debe ser el despliegue de una plataforma competitiva como la que más, y tiene todos los derechos igual que cualquier otra, pues la televisión digital terrestre, ¿no? Además, DigiTAG tiene una característica interesante, que está formada, no es un organismo de estandarización, ¿vale? Esto es importante. No es ni el DVB, no es ni la ETSI y no es el HbbTV Forum. Esto es importante destacarlo, ¿no? Y es un organismo con sede en Ginebra, comparte sede con la EBU, es decir, en su momento, digamos, parte de los iniciadores de la existencia de DigiTAG fue la propia Eurovisión, pero es una organización que tiene lo que llamamos 4 constituencies. Y esto es quizá la única organización de no estandarización en Europa que tiene estas características, y por eso en este elemento de la televisión conectada decidimos pues tomar parte, ¿no? Tiene el grupo de los radiodifusores, el grupo de los fabricantes, el grupo de los operadores de red y el grupo de los reguladores. Entonces, que tengas una organización con estas 4 instituciones, no pensando en estandarizar, sino en implementar, básicamente, es la fase que va posterior, pues es bueno porque pues, permite elevar debates que a veces los estás teniendo pues, a nivel nacional a un nivel más paneuropeo, yendo exactamente en la línea que tú apuntabas de necesidad de estandarización y, sobre todo para la TDT, que es una plataforma que se ha desarrollado siempre en base al retail, siempre en base que tú libremente vas a una tienda y te compras el receptor que más te gusta, ¿vale? Y este es el modelo sobre el que siempre dicen, ¿no?, los expertos, que tienes que
apalancarte en tus grandes fortalezas. Y esta es la fortaleza que ha tenido históricamente la televisión digital terrestre, ¿no? Y como bien comentaba antes Klaus, pues llega a un punto que no necesita ni promoción según qué servicios, porque en el mercado donde estás, en el caso alemán es satélite, pero que las cosas naturalmente son adoptadas, ¿no? Entonces, en los países terrestres, como son pues claramente Francia, España, Inglaterra, otros, pues creemos que hay claramente una necesidad, Italia también, de que la televisión digital terrestre pues cuente con herramientas adicionales a la pura transmisión de señales lineales, ¿no? Entonces, la necesidad de levantar un grupo de trabajo, que es cómo hemos organizado esta actividad dentro de DigiTAG del Connected TV, pues surgió pues a principios de año, cuando estamos viendo iniciativas muy interesantes con elevados temas de interés, como estaba haciendo TNT 2.0 en Francia, como empezábamos a hacer aquí en España con AEDETI, como lo que está haciendo German TV Platform en Alemania y otros. Y no solo HbbTV, es decir, tenemos, y esto es un tema que tanto Eurovisión como DigiTAG como grupo que tiene más de 50 empresas debe ser muy consciente, es de que cierta neutralidad tecnológica debe existir. Hay miembros de Eurovisión y de DigiTAG que son italianos, y ahí hay otra plataforma que es MHP, pero con las mismas necesidades de adaptive streaming que pueda tener Francia, que está implementando con HbbTV, porque al final adaptive streaming es un tema que no tiene nada que ver con el middleware, ¿no? Igual que el DRM, igual que otros principios básicos que han salido en la primera sesión de hoy, que la EBU ha intentado recoger pues, en el decálogo que sacó hace pues, un mes y medio, que hemos recogido en DigiTAG como punto de partida para, y es un elemento más, para los requerimientos de los principios. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que se pretende hacer en DigiTAG? Como decía, no se pretende hacer una especificación, se pretende hacer una guía de implantación o una guía de implementación donde no solo se consideren los elementos técnicos, los elementos de estándar, sino los principios básicos que los radiodifusores también quieren proteger acerca de, y ha habido buenas preguntas al principio, del overlay o no overlay, overlay sí si el usuario quiere, o overlay cuando es una aplicación que se arranca solo desde el broadband y no es híbrida, es decir, que se arranca desde broadcast. Es decir, hay todo un debate de fondo que no es para nada fácil, que quizá donde se ha hecho con más seriedad ha sido en Francia, pero que en España debe tenerse en algún momento también, y en otros países que no estén ni tan avanzados como España, que estamos ya pues, trabajando con las especificaciones de AEDETI, donde pueda existir un punto de referencia básico, donde estos elementos estén mínimamente consensuados y que puedan ser utilizados como guía para AEDETI, digamos, que pueda también enriquecerse de lo que se está haciendo ahí, y ahora comentaremos un poco a nivel de liaison y de relaciones entre las distintas organizaciones cómo los hemos organizado, pero incluso en países que no han ni empezado, ¿vale? Y podrían ser, por ejemplo, muchos países de Europa del Este, pues tengan una guía rápida de implantación sin tener que empezar muchísimos debates que son siempre muy interesantes, pero muy desgastadores y a veces en algunos puntos incluso estériles. Con lo cual, si tienes un punto donde referenciarte, pues creemos que desde DigiTAG es una obligación que estemos pues, intentando iluminar el camino en esta línea. A día de hoy, cuando las digamos, especificaciones de los distintos países que están vinculados a HbbTV aún no están finalizadas, pero en un proceso de finalización bastante avanzado, y países como Italia y Alemania, que tienen, digamos, su propia decisión ya tomada, la organización que hemos propuesto desde DigiTAG es establecer vínculos con las distintas organizaciones que en estos momentos están trabajando. Por ejemplo, yo creo que has recibido tú una carta de DigiTAG como presidente de AEDETI, en el cual se te invita a participar de esta actividad. Respondiste muy amablemente diciendo que sí que interesa, recogiste las especificaciones en el punto que estaban de AEDETI, las mandaste en DigiTAG. Con TNT 2.0 se ha hecho exactamente lo mismo. Con Nordic, esto es un elemento importante comentando, digamos, las iniciativas que están saliendo. Este lunes pasado hubo el comité ejecutivo de los países nórdicos, y decidieron adoptar también HbbTV, con lo cual tenemos ya el liaison establecido. Nos han pasado sus principios básicos fundamentales, pero también sus requerimientos técnicos. Entonces, lo que estamos haciendo es conglomerar todas estas distintas iniciativas que se están dando, intentar identificar cuáles de ellas son principios básicos que existen y valen para todos los países, qué requerimientos tecnológicos valen para todos los países, intentar tenerlos en un documento, sin dejar de reflejar algunos requerimientos que en estos momentos pueden estar no cerrados por algunos países o solo ser de algunos países, que también tendrían, digamos, su plasmación, porque al fin y al cabo se trata de un documento que pueda ser de guía fácil de implantación, pero también donde se vean ideas que puedan ser utilizadas por otros países en cuanto a incorporar también ellos estos requerimientos en sus especificaciones nacionales, ¿no? Con lo cual, de lo que se trata básicamente es de esta actividad de recolección de requerimientos, y estamos trabajando para tener en el próximo steering board de la semana que viene un primer draft que pudiera ser devuelto, por ejemplo, en este caso a AEDETI, y en el que pudiéramos ya desde AEDETI pues trabajar con los principios básicos de la EBU consensuados e integrados, que por ejemplo en el documento de AEDETI de a día de hoy creo que no están recogidos, pero vendrían ya pues trabajados con un discurso pues discutido en un foro donde pues ha habido también fabricantes, y creemos que pueden enriquecer las distintas organizaciones nacionales. Como os decía, la próxima semana, creo que es martes, tenemos steering board donde veríamos el primer borrador, que esperemos que esté a nivel de ser pues distribuido de vuelta a las organizaciones que amablemente pues habéis querido colaborar, que en estos momentos pues es el DTG inglés, es el HD Forum de Italia, es TNT 2.0 en Francia, es AEDETI, obviamente. Deutsche TV Platform también está viendo si sus recomendaciones internas las tiene en un punto como para ser enviadas a DigiTAG. Digamos, hay una wishlist, pero no hay un documento formal aún de Deutsche TV Platform. Y me estoy dejando a los Nordic en estos momentos, son 6, y la EBU, con lo cual son 7 organizaciones contribuyendo. No resulta fácil intentar generar un documento, porque a veces incluso hay proposiciones y requerimientos pues contradictorios en algunos puntos, y es siempre sano pues establecer este debate en aras a que creemos la masa crítica de mercado posible, para que los fabricantes adopten de forma natural en el modelo de negocio, digamos, que ha sido históricamente el que ha estado alrededor de la televisión digital terrestre o de la televisión terrestre, que es el modelo retail, el modelo horizontal, y que se adopte de forma natural una nueva funcionalidad sobre la televisión digital terrestre, ¿no? Este es básicamente el roadmap. Yo creo que para la próxima semana el documento no estará terminado, porque en AEDETI estamos aún trabajando. Creo que Francia está pensando by the end of June maybe to have the final specifications, es decir, hay aún unos meses, y de aquí a verano o inmediatamente después de verano tener ya este documento que pues permita a todos los fabricantes pues o en Navidades de este año o en primavera 2012, como comentaba Regi, pues tener ya a disposición libremente este tipo de equipos en el mercado, ¿no? Hay elementos importantes como son los de interoperabilidad y elementos de testeo, que esto para los países que adopten, por ejemplo, en Inglaterra lo tienen bien resuelto desde el DTG, pero los países que adopten HbbTV, que está en proceso final de maduración, pues quedan elementos ciertamente para ser coordinados, para ser consensuados, y digamos, están en la lista de deberes pendientes que no son pocos, ¿no? Es decir, el reto en los entornos horizontales, tiendo a pensar, igual porque desde Avertis y desde DigiTAG nos toca estar en este entorno básicamente, que son más difíciles de coordinar que los entornos verticales. Es decir, los entornos verticales, al final, el proveedor del servicio define una especificación, lanza un RFQ, y los fabricantes que tienen interés en estar, pues están, ofertan y perfecto. Es decir, es un entorno donde la adopción de nuevas funcionalidades normalmente la puedes hacer de forma pues más rápida, ¿vale? Y es perfecto, y esta es una de las ventajas, diría yo, competitivas que tienen los entornos verticales. Los entornos horizontales es más difícil, nos tenemos que poner muchísimos más de acuerdo, pero también tienen otras ventajas, ¿no? Entonces, es ahí donde estamos, es ahí donde queremos pues ayudar a todos los países que estén en vías de desplegar este tipo de servicios, y en el caso concreto de AEDETI, pues desde DigiTAG agradeceros vuestra participación y esperemos que pues la contribución que nos podamos realimentar mutuamente pues sea fructífera y nos lleve pues a una adopción natural de HbbTV en España como en otros países. Y después quizá en turno de preguntas podemos comentar más temas si queréis.
Pues muchas gracias, Alex, y sobre todo también desde AEDETI agradecer que DigiTAG nos haya hecho esta invitación, que obviamente aceptamos con gusto, porque creemos que es la forma de conseguir elevar a un entorno europeo las necesidades, las inquietudes y también intentar estar, no tanto a la vanguardia, que siempre es interesante estar a la vanguardia, pero sí al corriente de cuál es la evolución de este estándar, y claramente es el estándar que están apoyando hasta donde sabemos los fabricantes y por donde tenemos que ir como industria.
John, we didn't talk about HbbTV specifically as it is today, and what are the expectations that we have in terms of the future evolution of that. We understand all that this is something that we can use today, but what do you have next? What do you have in mind? How can we collaborate with that?
So thank you very much. So Regis at the beginning mentioned the HbbTV group. Now I thought I'd start by saying a few words about that and how that may be relevant for here. So what's happened over the past year or so is an extremely informal group of companies with a very low participation barrier, no membership fee, have just got together to work on a number of topics around getting HbbTV in the market. So not really new specification development, but the things you need to turn a piece of paper into products and services that people are using and that people in the room here can hopefully make money from. So one thing that this relatively informal group has been working on is testing. I mean, we've all seen this kind of technology needs a lot of work in that area. We've had a group working on test specifications first, then turning those into test materials, so HTML pages, transport streams, media files that you can put on an HTTP server, that sort of thing. Also, test tools. I mean, you need any kind of thing with large amounts of test material, and you need a framework, an automated framework to run it. So all of that work has been going on. The goal here is to have a single set of test materials reviewed, peer-reviewed, everything complete before September this year. Now, test materials and everything on their own are not enough for actually going to the market. You also need the processes around them. That's processes, but also it's legal documents, contracts, and that sort of thing. So there's a certification group that's been working on all of that process stuff, the legal stuff, agreements, that sort of thing. The goal of that work is to enable a single HbbTV compliance regime that can be made, that countries like France, like Spain, could make a requirement in order to obtain a national logo. So there's just one, a TV manufacturer can pass their HbbTV compliance and then can come along to whoever runs the logo in France or whoever would run a logo regime here and say, here's the proof that I've passed this part of the tests for my product. Another part that's been going on, well, any specification always contains errors when you write it the first time. I mean, everybody knows that a 1.0 release of anything is not really, you have to be a little bit brave when you do a 1.0. So what we've been doing for the past 9 months or so is basically just people have been implementing it, both receivers, services, and the people implementing test materials and finding issues with it, and we've been fixing them. So we're going to have a first errata to the specification publicly available very soon, like maybe next week, maybe a little bit after, but it's basically done. And that should be included in an ETSI spec. And hopefully we will update the ETSI specification later this year. But that's what you always find. You sit down and you implement something, and then you find problems and you fix them. A spec that doesn't have any errors is a spec that nobody's actually using. Now, that's the sort of informal group. Now, that's what that can't really handle with that degree of informality is new specification development. So HbbTV is now in the process of transitioning to be a proper organisation with members, and I'm sorry to say a membership fee. And the new organisation is going to cover both an HbbTV 1.5 specification, which will address the critical short-term requirements that Regis mentioned, and an HbbTV version 2, which any member can contribute requirements to. Now, by its nature, that process hasn't, the version 2 process hasn't started yet, so how long it will take, who knows? But I think the key focus that we've been trying to achieve all along is to have a specification that is not perfect, but it's good enough. And good enough for people to implement, good enough for people to deploy services with. And we very much believe that the current 1.1.1 ETSI specification is good enough for a very large proportion of services and good enough for people to implement. And then when we address some of the premium content and the protected content requirements in the 1.5, then that will be even better. Will it be perfect? No, but a perfect spec never gets into the market. But will it be good enough that people can actually do business with? Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Klaus. Tenemos como 10 minutos para preguntas, ¿vale? Tenemos traducción simultánea bidireccional, si no hay problemas.
La pregunta es para Klaus. Soy Javier Sánchez de ADN Stream y para ahorrarme un viaje a Alemania me encantaría saber, ya que le tenemos a usted aquí, me encantaría saber qué es lo que está funcionando a nivel de aplicaciones en Alemania. Es una EPG 2.0 que están haciendo los broadcasters, es el tiempo, en plan también 2.0, es el video on demand, o sea, de esas 40 aplicaciones que ha descrito, ¿qué es lo que de verdad está volviendo loca a la gente para que empiece a adaptar HbbTV de la forma en la que se ha adaptado en Alemania?
So first of all, everything we have now in Germany deployed relies on HbbTV 1.0. Yeah. So, and HbbTV 1.0 has been already, of course, designed to open up for a wide range of services, including the option of implementing DRM systems. There's only one of these services who really uses, it's even not in this flyer, which really uses a formal, say, DRM system, which is the Maxdome service coming from Broadcaster. There are other services on the individual device portals using DRM, but of those services generated by the broadcasters, all except one are based on models which don't require DRM. All of them are functional. And so they are real, so they can be deployed. So you can have different business models even without a DRM system. So looking at your PC, for example, you have lots of things which run there without requiring DRM system. For example, for all sorts of commercial transactions, you can use HTTPS. So secured HTTP transfer. HTTPS is part of HbbTV 1.0. And the number of applications here is using HTTPS. So you can do all sorts of home banking, home shopping, secure transactions, and so on. We have cookies, in HbbTV 1.0. And so you can imagine all sorts of services where you can store personal information using cookies, doing secured data exchange using HTTPS. You can do, of course, I've given this example, you can do HbbTV services with pre-roll ads. So we have a mechanism to queue videos. So and all of this is operational, so all these services. So there, for example, there's Home Shopping Europe, and they have an application, so which you can start, where you can go into the shop and look at all the products and order them, of course. So you have your personal PIN or login, and then you can do transactions and really buy things. There's also an example, I will give you one of these flyers, example of a music shop where you can order CDs. It's a music television service bringing music clips all the day, and this has now an application which allows to immediately buy the CDs you have just heard, and this is operational, and this can be done with HbbTV as it is today. And one of the, of course, killer applications is all the HbbTV services. So there is lots of video-on-demand content. For example, the ZDF. ZDF is one of our big public broadcasters in Germany. They have more than 30,000 videos in their HbbTV service. There's a rather simple user interface, of course, for TV screen. You have to somehow simplify your user interfaces. And quite a fraction of this is also, no, not really a big fraction, but growing, is HD content. So you can really do internet streaming. You can have also good quality today. And somehow you really have the experience of getting a better quality if you're switching from SD broadcast services to some HD content in the HbbTV domain. You have an improvement in picture quality even.
Aprovecho para recordar que tenemos también un back channel y ahí hay algunas conversaciones interesantes en el back office en Twitter con AEDETI, o sea que si alguno quiere lanzar algo, estoy aquí monitorizando, por si acaso. Eladio, por favor.
Sí, una cuestión para John. Además de problemas tecnológicos en el fracaso que tuvimos en MHP, podemos también recordar que tuvimos problemas de patentes submarinas. Una parte de HbbTV hereda desarrollos de MHP. ¿Están resueltos los posibles reclamaciones que pueda haber sobre patentes en HbbTV procedentes de los desarrollos anteriores de MHP? En definitiva, dice que están trabajando en temas jurídicos, además de hacer la guía de fácil aplicación de HbbTV. ¿Cómo está el tema jurídico de derechos de propiedad intelectual sobre el desarrollo completo de HbbTV?
Wants to take the lead here?
So if you are asking for submarine patents, so you never know whether there are really any submarine things by definition. So they are unknown. If you ask us for any unknown things, we don't know whether they're unknown things. Otherwise, we would know them. So this is maybe a little bit a stupid answer, but it's not so. It's not so stupid. So finally, we can't say anything which is true for 100%. There are only a few things we can say. That is that more than MHP, HbbTV is based on open technologies, so like HTML, JavaScript. So we believe there are no submarine patents. We don't know, but we believe there are no submarine things for all the HTML, JavaScript machinery, in contrary to what has been the case for MHP with Java and so the Sun licenses. So we believe that the basic machinery doing the applications, HTML, JavaScript, is free of patents. Then we have, of course, a range of components being part of being somehow part of HbbTV, where you have to pay licenses for. For example, one of the media formats we are specifying is some video audio codecs, for example, H.264 is specified by HbbTV, and you have some licensing issues with H.264 as a video codec. So the overall picture for me is that there are some IPR issues, but nothing which is really specific to HbbTV. So we are using standard technologies which have been proved to be, up to now at least, IPR-free in other domains as well. So if you think of MHAC, HbbTV is very similar to MHAC, using a different machine than the MHAC browser, to using an HTML, JavaScript-based rendering engine, but the rest being very comparable to MHAC in terms of how the broadcast interface is being done. So for the moment, we don't see any real specific IPR claims popping up or feeling threatened by them. But we can't exclude it. We are combining a number of different components. As I said, some of them are known to claim to ask for license fees. But for the majority, or for everything we can see today, we don't see anybody claiming any licensing fees. So the situation for HbbTV thus being very comparable, as I said, to the MHAC situation.
¿Más preguntas? Muy bien. Pues si tampoco me llega nada por el back channel, que de momento no, pues no. Entonces, agradecerle a todos ustedes su asistencia hoy, agradecer a los panelistas. Thank you very much for your attendance today to this event. It's very important for the Spanish market. Y la siguiente sesión, sin solución de continuidad, será la visión de los fabricantes, así que invito a todos los panelistas a que se unan a nosotros en la mesa. Gracias.